Welcome to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast, episode 26.
Everyone wants happiness and success, and we know how to get you there. Come listen to the Leadership Society of Arizona as we teach a proven logic to help you simplify life, overcome challenges, and predict the future. You're listening to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. Welcome to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. My name is Chuck Zalanis, and I'm joined by our very special guests today, Dr. Jake Gunnoe, as well as Dr. Jacob Kashiwagi. We've got Dr. Jake Gunnoe on the podcast today to ask some questions that are near and dear to his heart. Jake is one of the directors of the Leadership Society of Arizona. He has some really funny skits that you can also check out on the YouTube channel, A Leadership Society of Arizona. Dr. Jake Gunnoe has a PhD in construction management, a master's in construction management, and a bachelor's in engineering. I think it's mechanical engineering, is that correct?
You got it.
Yeah, so we're really excited to have him on the show. So Jake, can you ask your question?
Yes. All right, so for this week, I thought it's be a good time for another relationships episode. So I've been married for 3 years now, and whenever anybody gives me marriage advice, one of the most common things I ever hear is something along the lines of pick your battles and know when to put your foot down. Now, I wanted to bring this up to you, Dr. Jacob, because it seems like in the no influence method of working with relationships and other people, picking your battles and putting your foot down seem like a form of influence. And so I avoid it. But I wanted to hear what you thought.
Okay, well, that's a really good question, Dr. Gunnoe. So my question is, what's the purpose of putting your foot down? What's the purpose of picking your battles? What are we trying to get out of this?
I would guess, I think a lot of people say it because they're saying, hey, this is what makes for a happy marriage, is you got to stand up for the things that you want.
Got it. Well, okay, so our outcome of this, putting your foot down, picking your battles, we're doing this because we want a happy marriage.
Yeah, I think we want to be happy in our marriage, you know?
Got it. So how is this going to make your marriage happier by putting your foot down?
I don't think it would.
That's, to be honest, this is one of the things that's puzzling to me, is because, so I guess it comes down to, if you have something that you want to do in a marriage, like you have, I don't know, let's call it an activity. Let's say you want to do an activity. Let's make it even simpler. Let's call it watch a movie. You have a movie that you want to watch. You really want to watch it. And there's two options. One is, if you really want to watch it, put your foot down and say that you want to watch it. Or two, which I think is more along the lines of what you teach, it's, hey, what does it matter? You know, don't try to influence, go with what they want to do.
Yes. So why would you put your foot down?
Because it's something that you want.
Okay. So when they tell you to pick your battles, put your foot down, the purpose of that is you're going to make the marriage happier because you're going to make yourself happier.
Yeah, I think that is, I guess that's the core of it.
And that's the thing with most marriages is in order for the marriage to be happy, you have to be happy, right? You have to be able to do the things that you want to do, the things that you naturally do. But let me ask you some simple questions here then, because you do need to be happy yourself. But let me ask you some questions to kind of help us understand this at a high level first. First thing is, the more you have to do things that you want to do, that your wife or your companion doesn't want you to do, is that going to make for a rougher marriage or an easier and happier marriage?
It's definitely a rougher marriage.
So we just need to know, first off, the less you have to put your foot down and the less you have to have a battle, the happier your marriage is going to be.
Now that Is simple.
And that's really what they're trying to tell you. Most people, when they give you that advice, is you don't want any battles. You don't ever want to put your foot down. So you got to make sure that if you do it, it's for something you definitely need to make you happier. Because if once you do it, who's going to be happy?
It's probably only you, and your significant other isn't going to be too happy about it.
But it kind of defeats the purpose of you being happy if your significant other isn't happy, because if your significant other isn't happy, there's no way you're going to be happy.
Yeah, it really, it's a boomerang effect, it comes back to bite you.
But what it really is you're trying to figure out how can you live with someone who's different that doesn't necessarily accept you 100%. How can you live with them and be able to be yourself and be happy, but at the same time allow them to be happy as well.
Yeah.
So here's the thing is, when you do this, if your intent is by doing this, you're thinking or you're expecting that your significant other is going to say, whoa, he put his foot down. That means this is important. That means I'm going to be happy with him doing what he wants to do. If that's your expectation, that might not come out the way you really want it to be.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
But if your purpose in doing that is to relay to your companion, hey, this is something that's really important to me, and then seeing how they react and seeing if they're able to account for it and consider what you want. Now, that's a good way of doing it. But putting your foot down, that might not be the best way of doing it. Right? Because putting your foot down is like, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
But let's go through the scenario then. Okay, I'll be your companion, Jake. Hi, honey.
Hi, darling. Hey, let's watch The Avatar tonight, The Last Airbender.
What? Watch The Avatar? No way.
Yeah, it's a super good show. It's like my favorite show. Let's watch it tonight.
I got an idea. Let's watch, I don't know, My Little Pony.
No, I don't want to watch that. We're going to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender.
No, I think we're going to watch My Little Pony.
I'm afraid I'm putting my foot down.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, you watch a movie by yourself.
This is like an actual conversation.
Okay. Now here's the thing. Is when you've relayed it nicely and you saw my reaction, you already know I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So what benefit do you get from putting your foot down after that? From getting more angry and mad?
Yeah, it's true.
You really don't benefit from it.
You really don't, actually.
And no matter what you do, I mean, the other person's going to enjoy the movies they enjoy because why?
Because it's just who they are.
It's just who they are. Right? So then it becomes, just accepting them for that and realizing, something else has to happen, or trying to push your agenda, and all it does is move you together or farther apart.
Yeah. Well, I guess, in the case of like choosing a TV show or movie, it's kind of silly because, you look at that example and of course that's something that you can always, give in on. Like it doesn't really matter what you watch for TV. I guess the challenge is not when it's about deciding something or a conflict of opinions, but it comes in when you have to do something. Like maybe you have to do something for work or you have to do something for family. And if you don't, it might cause you problems or it might cause you stress. And that seems like when clashes usually happen, where it's like, you have to put your foot down, so to speak.
Now, here's the thing, is regardless of if it's a movie or something really important that there's no way you can get out of, the concept is the same. That if you're going to do something that your spouse doesn't like, they're never going to like it.
Mm.
right? So getting angry at the situation isn't ever going to do you good.
Yeah, clearly.
But what if you just found out they didn't like it, but you know you have to do it, so you do it anyways? And you're never mean to them, you're never rude to them, you never demand anything out of them. You just have to go and do it.
Yeah.
The same result, except you don't have a lot of the emotional bickering that
Yeah.
even exacerbates the problem, elevates the issue. Because now not only did you do something they don't like and don't agree with, but now you got in a conversation that increased their emotions of both parties, causing everyone not to be happy.
Yeah.
And you didn't even do anything yet.
You know, Jake, I had this same sort of experience early on when Kay and I were married. Kay really likes the show Friends, and I thought, you know, there's a lot of topics that I don't really like.
Man, I love Friends, Chuck. Come on.
I don't really want to listen to that, and so I kept telling her, look, I don't really like that. Is it okay if you wear headphones, or is it okay? But this was a non-negotiable for her. She loves that show. And I realized that my inhibitions with that show, me putting my foot down saying no to that, really created a kind of a rift between us. It made it so we didn't feel as connected and we couldn't share the same jokes. And now I watch Friends with her, and I think it's funny. But some shows I can't handle. Some of them are a little bit cringy. I think they had like a hypothetical situation where they went back in time and all these different things were different about themselves, like if they were their high school selves or something like that.
I remember that episode, actually, yeah.
And that one was just a little too much for me. I can't handle that one. So now I've just become a little more lenient over time, but with those non-negotiables, even on her side, it's important to realize what's really at stake there. Is it really worth fighting over? And maybe it's worth talking over too.
It's true. So then, Dr. Jacob, let me say back what I think you're telling me. Tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
Okay. Putting your foot down, or let's use another word, kind of taking a stance on something isn't necessarily a good or bad thing. Sometimes you have to do it for your own happiness, but you just have to accept that the spouse isn't going to like it, no matter how you dress it up. But the most important thing is there's no use in making it an emotional affair or aggressive or controlling.
You got it. Unless you don't want it to last very long. So the key is to realize you never want to have a battle or put your foot down. That's where we're moving towards.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you feel like you need in your life, that if you can be polite and relay it very gently to figure out how your spouse feels about it, sometimes they'll give in and sometimes it's acceptable to them. Sometimes they might not like it, but they're willing to go along with you on it.
Yeah.
But if those times ever come up, if you relay it in the sense of, I'm doing this no matter what you say, what's the chances that they'll say, oh yeah, I'll go along with you with this even though I don't like it? No, the chance is zero.
Very slim, next to none.
So to ever have to relay something with the idea of putting your foot down, that never achieves what you think it will achieve, right? But always doing it politely, always just feeling out, always just trying to get a feel for how they feel about it. And then once you know how they feel about it, try to minimize this.
Yeah.
And just go and do it as quietly as you can, because you know,
without any fanfare.
They told you they didn't like it for a reason.
So you do it just accepting that they don't like it, and just you can't be upset about that. You know that it's reasonable.
Yes. You know it's who they are. That's who you bought into. That's why you're with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, the thing about it is, as you get older, as you go through more, and those who are more intelligent when they're younger, they need less because they realize they'd rather give in to their companion than to have the impact of a battle or putting their foot down. But as you develop, you'll find you need less. You'll find, like Chuck, you can take more. You know, what you thought once you just had to have and it had to be a certain way, as you get more mature, you'll find out, oh, maybe I didn't need to have it that way.
Makes a ton of sense.
Now, we always need to give you some things that you can do to work on this. And this is for people who have a companion or who don't have a companion. It's always better, remember, to work on this before you have a companion. But if you already have a companion, you can still do it. Number one, best thing you can do is you can go out and you can practice doing this. It's harder to practice with people who are closer to you, easier to practice with people who don't get you emotional, don't know what buttons to push on you, and don't realize, you know, that you're in a relationship and you can't get away from each other. So
that makes so much sense.
When you go out to practice letting people do it their way, to practice giving in more, very simple, right? Practice makes perfect, and it's true. The more you practice that, the easier and the more natural it will be when you get to people closer to you. So that's one, practice it. Practice it with whoever is easiest to practice it. Second thing you can do is actually, when you give in to your spouse, to track and document it. I can't tell you how many things that when you document it, it will get better. I'll give you an example. There's one time where I felt I could never be late. And there's people in my life that were always late. And I'd always get really upset at it. And I think, I got to put my foot down because we got to be on time. It's respectful, da-da-da-da-da. So I started to document whenever we were late, what the impact was. Was anybody offended? Did I miss anything? And we were late for church, we were late for family meetings, we were late for all sorts of stuff. Come to find out, I never documented a time when we were late that it was bad.
That is such a good idea.
That I missed something, that it was like terrible. In fact, I started finding out as I documented the impact and I got less stressed because I saw what the impact was. I found out that I actually didn't mind being late to all of these things that we were late to.
Yeah.
In fact, it made the experience more enjoyable for me. So document, right? If you think you're giving in and it's something that you can't be giving into, well, then practice doing it and then document what happens. And the more you find out that things are okay and everything was just fine, then the more you're likely to do it. So that's my second suggestion, is document what happens. Third suggestion here is we're practicing accepting other people for who they are. One of the things that helps you to want to accept other people more is by realizing how much they're accepting you. And so the other way around with this is figuring out, what is your companion feeling about you? Now, this can be really tough. It takes more listening. And listening to things that you might not necessarily like. But as you understand and realize what your companion is doing for you, what your companion is already giving in, and what, you know, they're having issues with or troubles with and whatnot, the more you listen to what their concerns are and what they need in their life, the more you're going to respect them, the more you're going to understand them, and the easier it will be to give in to what they want to do on those tough times. And so that's the third thing, is figure out more about them, learn more about what they're going through, understanding how they feel. And the fourth, like always, Talk to a mentor. The mentor can always help you to realize when you really have something you got to put your foot down with and start a battle with, and when you really don't. More than likely, 80% of the time you think you got to start a battle, you don't. And so if you talk with the mentor, of course, they're going to help you out with that. And you're going to be able to glide through that without starting a battle. And those are my 4 suggestions for you today.
My life is already easier.
Thank you for listening to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. It would be great if you could take a moment to write us a review. For any questions, comments, or topics that you would like to have addressed on the show, email the team at leadaz.org. To learn more about the Leadership Society of Arizona, visit us at leadaz.org.